Hi everyone, it's LiberAnarchy here again, and I recently watched a video by Styx Hexenhammer that was of a short recording of Boyd Rice speaking at an event that happened on 8/8/88. Also, there's been obviously conversation about Woods of Jordan and his recent deconversion again. And I'm not laughing in the sense of laughing at somebody's own journey, but I'm laughing at, well, okay, so one week he leaves Mormonism and goes back to Christianity, same week, Christmas video, Merry fucking Christmas, religion is bullshit, okay. But I can actually relate to that. As much as my transformations weren't nearly as fast, I can relate to having a lot of transformations, okay? In fact, I can relate to a lot of things and a lot of symbolism coming out of the blue. I can relate to, like, oh well, I'm doing my thing here, and you know, da 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 da, and it makes sense, and I'm working within a particular framework, and then my own brain hands me imagery from left field, and it feels like I've just beamed down to Mars, and you know, and it's like, well, when in Mars, do as the Martians do, but you know, to me, it's Mars, so yeah. But that's a different story. Related, but a little bit different. So, Boyd Rice had said that there cannot be birth without blood. And it's true. I mean, Boyd Rice, he is a very controversial person. There are many different opinions about him within Satanism. He uses a lot of, you know, death heads and it's various Nazi inspired symbols and so forth. He likes to fuck with people constantly. That's what he does. That's his shtick. He fucks with people. So, be warned, if you're going to, say go on Boyd Rice's site, whatever you're seeing, reading, or hearing, he's probably fucking with you, okay? So don't get too offended. I think he's one of these people who wants to make people think, but he wants to do it in a way that's not going to be all nice and sweet and pleasant. He wants to do it in a way that is pointedly going to be offensive to people. And he's not necessarily going to be honest about it either. He's going to fuck with you. So, just word to the wise. If you dig around Boyd Rice's site, and by the way, he does have some. He has gone on Bob Larson's talk show a couple of times and stuff like that. I mean, and it's worth a listen. He's an interesting guy. He has he has an interesting way of thinking about things. And frankly, I think some of the things he says are pretty insightful. So, you may find a lot of things about him that bother you, but that doesn't mean that he's not worth considering. And if something is bothering you, chances are it's a good idea to think about why it's bothering you. So I wouldn't just read something on his site that sounds like he's saying, let's go out and just kill everybody or something. I mean, on his face it might sound like that, but if it upsets you, don't discount the guy and say like, oh well, he's just... Yeah, I've spent too much time on that. My videos are too fucking long because I fucking ramble. Okay, but anyway, so yeah, Boyd Rice is correct. There cannot be birth without blood. And it's very interesting that Anton LaVey said that we are in the age of fire, and people are deciding, am I going to give up my religious beliefs, or am I going to become more fervent in them? Am I going to go non-religious, or am I going to go fundamentalist? And there are certainly people that will go fundamentalist because they see their religion is dying, and they are fighting all the harder. LaVey was right. And yeah, we're in the age of fire. I'm seeing that now. And there are Satanists who say, well, when the religions, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, when the Abrahamic religions fight all the harder, it's a good sign. because it means that they are losing and that they know they're losing. I would personally rather see them not fight and just gracefully leave, but that's not what they are doing, and that's not what they are going to do. Okay? And no, I'm not for, like, picking up a gun and trying to eliminate religions, because that just causes all kinds of havoc. And I think the Abrahamic religions, in some way, shape, or form, will always, always, always be around in some form, no matter how innocuous or pagan inspired or wishy-washy and weak-kneed. They're always going to be around, so just accept it and move on. And whatever your personal message, philosophy, way of life is, live it, think it, express it, and understand that there are always going to be people that think you are wrong and a sinner and going to hell, and just ignore those people. There's no... I think it's a horrible waste of time, energy, and lives to try and eradicate any religion. But, okay. So, where the Woods of Jordan thing comes in, on his video, Mystic Blue and Master Sheena brought up that he's changing quite a bit. He doesn't, like Master Sheena said, that he really doesn't have a base, a groundwork, a framework to stand on anymore. He's kind of, he's just kind of out in the middle of the air. Out in the middle of the air. Well, you know what I mean. He's just kind of whatever. He has no foundation right now. And that's fine. And so it occurs to me that he, as well as other people, might benefit from dark archetypes, dark imagery, depending on what culture you grew up in, what speaks to you, etc. Certainly there are pagans of many flavors that honor dark gods and goddesses, or underworld entities, etc. There's one person here who honors Kali, an Indian goddess that I don't know a heck of a lot about. There are people who honor the goddess Hel, queen of the underworld, the Norse underworld, also known as Hel, H-E single hockey stick. Sometimes she is called Hela, Hella. Let's see, certainly there are pagans of many stripes that honor the goddess Hecate, goddess of night, witches. There are, there are Hades. Certainly there are people that honor Hades. Yeah. There are people that are, you may be familiar with High Priest Fincher Satanus, and his cult of Cthulhu, whether they believe in a literal Lovecraftian pantheon or not, they honor the Lovecraftian pantheon, and that gets very chaotic. That shit does not compute. And I'm not saying that as an insult. I speak from experience. That shit does not compute. I mean, that's like, wow. That's... If you're going to get into that, be ready to be changed forever. You're never going to be the same person. Ever. Period. Gone. Kiss your ass goodbye. You might be a better person when you come out or something, sure, but you will never be the same person again. Gone. You're dead. You're not the same person anymore. You'll never be the same. Period. Full stop. But again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But that's what I'm talking about. Now, I think dark nights of the soul, right? We all have dark nights of the soul. I mean, even atheists who don't believe in a soul in the sense of an entity that can exist separate from the body and live on, there is a sort of essence of the person, what you're about, what you feel, what you think, who you are in your heart, as opposed to in your mind. Who you are in the world of feelings and meaning. Who you are in the sense of what would define you as a person outside of your body or etc. And so, everyone has dark nights of the soul, right? And you really can't get to, you go from, there's obviously sunset, things end, things die, people change, people give up things that are no longer useful to them. There is sunset. Then there is dawn. And I think what Jordan is trying to do is find dawn without going through the night. And you can't just go from sunset to dawn. You're going to have to go through a long night cycle. Maybe his dark night of the soul is going to be shorter than mine, or maybe longer than mine. I've gone through many, actually. So, and at this point, I would think of myself as actually being at another dawn, and that's cool. But I think that people in situations like his would do very well to embrace, quote, dark imagery or chaotic imagery. Maybe like the ancient Egyptian god Apophis, also known as Apep, the giant red snake that tries to eat Ra when he voyages through the underworld. I know some of my atheist subscribers are probably like shitting themselves. Like, I'm not speaking literally, okay? But my point is that may be the kind of imagery you want to invoke, or even identify with, because that's probably what's going to speak to you right now. Like somebody, the sun is setting. You're, in a manner of speaking, you're dying. And what is left of you at the end of a big, long struggle is going to be a new person. It's going to be the same person, yet it's going to be a new person, and, you can recreate yourself. And yes, I have a fascination with this concept of self-creation, okay? But that's a whole other rant, related but different rant. Yeah. So, the point being is, I think many people in stages of giving things up might do very well to embrace dark archetypes, dark imagery, chaos, dive into the abyss with both feet or head first, as I tend to do. Dive into something that scares you. Go toward what scares you the most. For me, images of deep water and being crushed. Images of not so much outer chaos, although that's a whole nother rant. But you might say the deep, the inner chaos, the crushing abyss. I mean that, and Cthulhu and the Midgard serpent and all that, and Apep and all this. To me, these are images of what I don't want to say afraid of in the sense of like I'm actually afraid of it, like I think it's going to get me, like I think it actually exists, but stuff that I fear is likely to take these shapes in my mind. And so in some situations, I think the best thing one can do is embrace it, and then what comes out after the fact ends up being the best of a person. What survives all this muck, separating the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. Yes, I know that's a biblical saying, but it still works. Bear with me. So, so what's left is the stuff that is survivable, the stuff that is useful.